What's going on is Anton from antondaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. So, recently we do know that ABC decided that they wanted to settle with Trump instead of having a prolonged legal fight over Trump's defamation suit, in which basically 16 million was to be paid out, allegedly 1 million from George Stephanopoulos and 15 million from ABC. 1 million going to Trump's lawyers, and then the other $15 million going to Trump's presidential library or whatever it is that he designate that he want to use it for. But the fact of the matter is that it set a precedent within the media as far as defamation, because George Stephanopoulos was online basically saying things that wasn't true with regard to Eugene Carroll and basically Trump graping, which is not what he was convicted for. And words matter. And this was one of the rare instances where you basically had somebody that had the money and the resources and the power to go after one of these networks. And it's funny because right after that, a black woman that kind of looked like Magic Johnson's son on MSNBC kind of repeated the same thing and doubled down. Not sure if she's still on there after that. But it was basically a humiliation of ABC, while at the same time, in a lot of people's opinions, setting a precedent for people to be able to go after people that say things, or Trump to be able to go after people in networks that say things that may or not be true just because they don't like them. Anyways, moving forward, throughout this process, Disney, which owns ABC, basically was in negotiation with George Stephanopoulos to renew his contract, which I believe also factored into the settlement. Now, this is courtesy of the New York Post, but several media outlets picked it up. We just gonna go through this really quickly in order to substantiate our argument and break down exactly what's going on. But it's just basically saying that despite the $16 million Trump settlement, it renewed with George Stephanopoulos because it didn't want blood on his hands. Blood on his hands basically meaning that if he was to leave and then run around getting mad because they didn't renew his contract, they don't want any more fallout as a result of this Trump thing and then George Stephanopoulos. So they went through the negotiation and they wound up renewing his contract, but they renewed it at a significant discount. Get to that in a minute. It says Disney decided to renew ABC news anchor George Stephanopoulos' contract despite having to fork over $16 million legal settlement because they didn't want his blood on their hands. Stephanopoulos, who hosts This Week, is a co-anchor on Good Morning America, was handed a multi-year deal, though he took a pay cut from his lofty $20 million annual salary. That is crazy to me. It is insane to me to think that a lot of these news anchors that need a co-host, they can't even really exist on their own. George Stephanopoulos regularly crashes out, in my opinion, and he's making $20 million a year. But it also makes sense when you think about this lawsuit. Why wouldn't ABC settle and then chop off $5 million a year off of his contract for the next 3 years, 3.5 years, in order to recoup the money that they would have normally paid to, the Trump settlement, or they would have normally paid to George Stephanopoulos, but since they had to pay that $16 million Trump settlement, it's going to come out of your cut, buddy. We're going to still keep you here. We're going to still keep you employed. I'm assuming that that's what they wanted to do in the first place because contract negotiations was already happening. But to think that George Stephanopoulos, I'm not saying that there's not people that don't deserve it. I think ESPN and Stephen A. Smith, who has basically been carrying ESPN for a long time now, probably is one of the few people that deserve a pretty hefty contract because of all of the work that he does. But George Stephanopoulos, stop it, bro. Anyways, it says no one wants a talent mess on their hands. Longtime network executive told the Post, no one wants an angry George loose in the world. No one wants to humiliate George by firing him or to have his blood on their hands. Goes on to say the well-connected former Democrat operative has been in talks with ABC News parent Disney, which is in cost-cutting mode. Well, why are they handing out massive contracts? It's insane. Before the company's shocking decision Saturday to settle with the president-elect Donald Trump, according to Deadline. Goes on to say George is well liked by the liberal elite in Hollywood and the Hamptons. He is friends with Jerry Seinfeld, Michael J. Fox, and Netflix boss Ted, a source said, adding that he operates in the same bubble of the left-leaning Disney top brass. And that's the problem, is that networking has basically removed people's ability to see the writing on the wall or to see what the sentiment of the streets is saying. And they don't realize that leaning left is leaning wrong. Leaning right is leaning right. Let's continue. George has carefully cultivated a relationship with Disney CEO Bob Iger and board members. He remains a respected member of the Disney family, which, in my opinion, probably feeds into why Stephen A. Smith is playing both sides of the field. He don't want to just come out and say, "Yeah, I'm conservative," or I'm a Republican," even though I agree with 100% of everything that they say and I espouse their values. I'm just going to play both sides of the fence because it's going to be conducive for my contract. But inside of the halls of ABC News, staffers remain livid over Iger's decision to stand by Stephanopoulos and cave to Trump. They paid off Trump for a mistake that George made. How many jobs could that $16 million save? A second network source citing a fresh round of layoffs at the network. Talent is always going to be king. Not saying that George Stephanopoulos is talented, but to keep the talent, they can always replace you. They feel like it's very hard to get these same people, and plus they friends. They're gonna get the bag at the expense of the shareholders. They said, I think people are angry at the humiliation of the settlement with Trump. People are angry with George's, and they had to write an apology. George's unforced errors and his defiance that he's rewarded for his mistakes, another lucrative contract, even if his salary has been cut. Source said that even if the journalist is well regarded by top brass, he isn't the favorite among staffers. Nobody care about if you're the favorite or not. Get to work and do your job. He is a loner who doesn't play well with others. That much is obvious. They noted that Stephanopoulos won't take part in election night coverage or appear on air with ABC World News Tonight with anchor David Muir. Most great anchors are larger than life. George has always been smaller than life, and this humiliating settlement has made him even smaller. As a part of the settlement, Stephanopoulos was forced to apologize, which he made the journalist apoplectic and humiliated. The Post exclusively reported Tuesday in an article headline, Furious George. Source said ABC News employees are now calling Stephanopoulos Furious George behind his back. He's mortified about the settlement and livid about the apology, but he values money and status more than anything. So he will take the paycheck and shut up. So basically, they're just saying that he's been humiliated, but he still got a deal. And it really doesn't matter because now they're going to just take it out of his paycheck and he can live happily ever after. Nobody is ever going to feel sorry for George Stephanopoulos or any of these anchors that make this egregious amount of money but does not actually warrant it or, in my opinion, deserve it. And Disney CEO Bob Iger, who used to be considered a genius, is now looking crazy because Disney is hemorrhaging money. And in addition to the $233 million or $234 million that they got to pay to Disney park employees for wage theft, they are also hemorrhaging money and people are tuning off. And so they got to figure out what to do. And Disney Plus is a failure, in my opinion, also. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Do y'all think that George Stephanopoulos deserves a massive contract, or do you think they should have just fired him and left him on his way like everybody else? I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.